What up, crew? We're going to work with our owls in a variety of ways here today. So I'm going to show you some different techniques and tips and ways that you can go about doing your owl. So first, if you do not have the materials that I'm about to use, you could always just draw or collage or paint or create an owl in any way that you see fit. But I want to show you this handout real quick because for a patterned owl, we know that the feathers create a lot of texture in the owl. So short lines or zigzags show really good feathers up close around the eyes. The feathers on like the chest of the owl are shorter and rounder. The rows of like dashed lines, like this, kind of a pattern or row of lines, they're horizontal on this side, they're a little vertical here. They are like the head feathers. And then the wing feathers are like leaf shapes with lines inside them. So, almost like a pointy oval football shape with lines in there too. So lines create texture, create movement, create great owl feathers as well. And then the body of the owl is really just a series of circles and ovals, and then those football or leaf shaped as well, and then the little feet like little tubes. So you could just draw an owl like this. I'm also going to link like step-by-step simple shape owl as well. But now I'm going to show you some different techniques that I want to explore with today. So first you'll get a piece of paper, and I want you to fold it in half. So you're going to turn one whole paper into two pieces by folding it in half like this. So you match your edge to edge, corner to corner, and make a fold. So now your one piece of paper kind of becomes two sides. We're going to think of that fold line as a line of symmetry. Symmetry means the same on both sides. So we're going to do a little painting technique where we tap, tap, tap the paint, but we're only going to work on one side of the symmetry line. So we're going to think that this doesn't exist over here. We're just going to do some painting over here and then fold it over so it's exactly a match and have symmetry the same on both sides. So I have the three primary colors. Think Mondrian here. Rojo red, amarillo yellow, azul blue, a little white, a little black as well. So Mondrian's favorite colors. We're going to use that to kind of mix up and make the owl eyes. And when I think of owls, I think of their big round eyes, which make them wise. Owls are wise and have big eyes. It kind of rhymes. So we're going to use a little red, yellow, blue. And when we mix our red and yellow, you know, you get some orange. But we're also going to mix some blue in there, and if you mix all the primary colors together, you get muddy brown. So we're going to use this to make texture marks, and we're just going to tap, tap, tap. So again, we're not going to cross the line of symmetry. We're going to think round, so I might get like the base circle here. And I'll go all the way around and I'll just kind of like tap on the line of symmetry there. All right, and I'm going to keep going. Every few strokes, you want to fold over to the other side and do a little dance. So fold and boom, you get a reflection symmetry. So it didn't work down here, so I'm going to add some strokes down there. Again, tappy tap the paint. That way it doesn't dry too fast and you will still make a mark on the other side. Let's see how that did. Ooh, now I have two big round owl eyes. And then you can just keep mixing your colors up. You can make it a little darker with more blue or even a little black in there. You could make it lighter with more yellow or some white in there. So I'm just tappy tap. I'm going to fold that down. making a nice print. And red and white makes a little pink, so maybe you want a little pink in your owl. It's up to you. But I'm just kind of making different feather marks and textures, tapping it in, and then it gets a perfect mirror image for symmetry, a reflection. Once you, I might just throw some white in there like that. Be interesting. I like those brush strokes. And then you can also use black to make like the big eye. It's mixing with my white, so it's creating gray. But I'll get some black in there. Tap, tap, tap some black. I'll fold that and hope I get a print. And then, once you've done that, you could also get like the light in the eye, like a shiny bright spot. Let's see if that prints too. Did I get it? Ooh, it kind of mixed. I love that though. All right. Once you let that dry, and you can keep adding layers and more paint, once that dries, you can then use some scrap paper to get like the horns of the owl, so like the great horned owl, or a beak. And do you know what shape has 3 sides that we could use for the beak? If you're thinking triangle, I think we're thinking of the same shape. So I'm just going to show you on a little whiteboard here. A beak for owl could be a triangle like that. So an upside down triangle, when you cut it out of a scrap paper, could be the beak. You could also add little lines for the nostrils, or the little holes in our noses that allow us to breathe through our nose. If you want to, you could also make it a rounded triangle. And a rounded triangle would make a good beak as well. And you could add some shadow marks. If you want your beak to be open, you could do that too. You could have it open off to the side like that. Or you could make a diamond shape like that. And when you cut it out, fold it in the middle there. And then you could have a beak that opens up and down and flaps. Amazing. Then for the horn shape, you could do triangles for the horns as well on the great horned owl. Or you could curve your triangle like that and make horns on your owl that are more of a curved triangle, or like a curved teardrop, or that curved leaf shape that I showed you in the beginning on that handout. So think of that, those shapes. If you want, you could add texture marks just like on that handout as well. And I'll show you one that's finished too, so that it'll make a little more sense to you. So here's one that I finished. So as you can see, I made my rounded triangle beak. I added the nostrils, even some highlight and shadow. I did the same thing in the horns there, but I just loved how I folded it and got the same texture marks, the same colors, the same layers as I did on the left. I got it on the right because I folded and allowed for symmetry, the same on both sides. Can you think of any other creatures that have symmetry on both sides? Some things that come to mind to me right now are bugs and butterflies. Think of their wings as having symmetry or symmetrical. Very cool. So I'm going to put this off to the side. While that's drying, you can start to make the background of an owl. So we made the face of the owl and we could glue that on. So we're just going to focus on like the body and the background as well. So I'm going to use an oil pastel to draw, so it's easier for you to see, but you would want to probably use pencil first. So I might get a branch in there for the owl to sit on. So a branch could just be curved lines like that. I could have some twigs coming off the branch, kind of like in the story about the owls that I read to you. There's branches and twigs and trees. And then think of the body, like I showed you on the handout, as an oval. So an oval's like a stretched out circle. like that. The wings are like those leaf shapes and with lines in them and texture marks. You don't have to get all the texture in right away. I'll have the other wing coming down this side. It's like on the other side of them. And then I'll have the little feet. So the little feet, I'll put like 3 toes on the owl. And then some owls, especially the adult owls, like the mother owl in the story, they kind of have little claws or talons on their feet there. So you could add more texture, kind of like I showed you on the handout, to your owl. And you could also add some texture to the tree. So bark is rough, so we kind of do short, rough lines. I'm going to show you how we can also paint this. I'm going to use temper cakes. You could also use the same paint you used for the owl face. That would work perfectly fine as well. Or you could use watercolor, or I'm going to use the temper cakes. They're a little thicker than watercolor. So I'm going to show you how we can do like the sky. And actually, I'm going to make a horizon line while I'm thinking of it, because I might want there to be a snowy hill in the background. So I might have a hill in the background, and then I'm going to leave white for snow. So in the sky, I want it to be nighttime, just like in the Owl Moon book, they go out owling at night. So I'm going to start perhaps with a blue sky. So I might use some turquoise and blue. And then while the paint is still wet on the paper, you can mix. So I might get some of the darker blue and mix it in with the turquoise. I might rinse my brush and get some purple and mix that into the sky. I might even get a little black to make it even darker up near the top. And I'm just blending it in while it's still wet. Then, if you want, you could also make it lighter in some areas by rinsing your brush, waking up white, and you could add that in to make a lighter blue, or just kind of like stripes through it. Ooh, I kind of like that. That's pretty awesome. You can do the same thing in your owl body and on the branch. So I might use brown on the branch. And look, I'm trying not to get into the feet of my owl. So I'm staying outside those lines. But I can still see the oil pastel. If you have crayon, that would do the same thing, because crayons and oil pastels, waxy. I might make some of the branch a little lighter in areas where the moonlight might hit it. I'll add some sandy tan in to make it a lighter brown. And I probably will do the exact same thing on the owl body itself. I might start with brown, but then I might rinse my brush, add a little sandy tan, little brush strokes, add texture. Maybe I'll add a little yellow in there, and maybe even some white for some highlights and lighter feathers too. I'm just going to do a little dab, 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 and it starts to mix in with the other colors because it's still wet. If you want it all to be one color, you could just smooth it out to be one color, or you could kind of let it mix and just kind of tappy tap tap on top. It's up to you. You're the boss. I'm going to show you one that is a little finished. So I have the sky in there. Again, it's a headless owl right now. I haven't glued, there's like the feet and the branch. I haven't glued the face on yet, but when I am done, I will glue that face there. So then I have my head with symmetry, the body with some awesome texture, the sky, the branch, and the feet there. I'm going to show you one more quick thing. Actually, I have a couple things. Man, there's just so many awesome ideas for these owls. So, another piece of paper, we could do the owl babies that are a part of the story Owl Babies that I read you. So, you could do another branch kind of in the same way. And you could have the mountain or the hill of snow. You could even add some pine trees like Christmas trees are. I'm going to show you how you could do that. So you could use a series of triangles, like one triangle at the top, and then it's like you're overlapping, and you make a series of triangles like that. That could make a pine tree. Or you could be a little more organic with those pine needles, and you could use texture marks like this. So it's similar, but I'm kind of using some zigzags and texture marks to create some pine trees. So do you see the difference? One is more triangular, one is more feathery texture marks and some zigzags. And you could kind of use similar lines in your branch. You could use some flowy curve lines. You could use some zigzag lines. It's up to you. All right. Once you paint that, and I'm going to show you quick again the sky, you could paint that. You could be daytime or nighttime. So I might start with some black near the top. Rinse, rinse, rinse. Add in some blue. And look how dark that sky's getting, but I can bring the blue down with some of the black in it. I love how that looks. I might add a little purple too through the sky. I can just tap some purple in and it starts to blend because it's still wet. And I may also use some white near the bottom just to lighten up some areas, and I can blend it in. I like how that looks too. So I'll kind of zoom in on that for you. I like mixing colors in the sky. And then I could also paint the branch and the green trees, what have you. Then, I also have a sponge. You could sponge paint your owls if you'd like. You could sponge paint over the big owl if you want to do the big owl with the symmetry head. You could also sponge paint the little owl babies, because in the book they looked very soft and their feathers were different than the mother owl or the grown-up owl. So I'm mixing a little yellow and white because that's the colors that I saw in the illustrations in the book. So that's kind of what I'm mixing together. You could have your baby owls any color you want. And I'm going to make a trio, or three, because in the book there was Sarah, Percy, and Bill. So on your branch, once it's dry and you've painted it brown and all that good stuff, you might want to sponge paint some owl babies on there. And of course I didn't wait for the sky to dry, so it's kind of mixing in with my owl baby. You could do that if you want, or you could let it dry so your owl baby's not all mixed up in the sky. And then notice it's going to overlap. If you have a tree in the background, your owl baby's going to overlap if it's sitting on the branch because it's closer to you. So you can't see what's behind it. So I just made three little ovals. And then if you want, you could almost make the wings, if you want the wings flapping, or they could just be at their side, or one down and one up, like that. So it looks like if this is Bill, he's doing a little disco there. Love it. Then once those sponge painted owl babies dry, you could add details with oil pastel or crayons or more paint, really whatever you want to do. And I'll show you one that's finished right there. I sponge painted some of those owl babies, and then just like with our fall pumpkin, I wanted to print a moon. So you could sponge paint a moon if you want. Since you have your sponge paint already going, you could sponge paint a moon if you want, and it's mixing in with my background there. I love that. Or you could print it on a lid just like I showed you before. So I might get a different brush for that. And I might mix my yellow and white paint. And again, if you want to do a lid print, you just really got to tap that paint on. Just like I did in the beginning with that symmetry on the owl face, you got to tap it on so it stays thick and doesn't dry too quickly. Because if it dries too quick, it's not going to leave a print, will it? So I'm going to tap, tap, tap. I might put some more dots of yellow in there. Because again, I love the print because you don't really know what it's going to exactly look like. My paper is a little small for this lid, but we'll overlap anyway. And that background's wet, so that will make an interesting print too. It might mix in with my colors. Boom. I have an owl moon. A full moon is a full circle like that. So I have shown you a symmetry print for a face, and you can collage on the horns and the beak. I've shown you how you can draw the owl body for the grown-up owl, and how you can attach the symmetry face onto that when you're done. Then I showed you too, you can use sponge paint to get your owl babies. You could make some pine trees in the background, mix colors for the sky, even do a print for a full owl moon. And one last one, I put the adult owl with the babies on a branch, and here's an example of that flapping beak. So I cut out a diamond and just glued the bottom part after I fold it in half so that the top half can flap open and close. And you see the nostrils, and then if you have an open closed beak, you can see the tongue too. And then I use little baby cupcake and muffin tins to glue down to look like the big wise owl eyes. So there are so many different ways that you can make owls with so many different materials, and I just can't wait to see what you come up with your very own. So you can use symmetry, you can use collage, you can use painting techniques, printing techniques. I know this is a long video, but break it up into a lot of different steps so you can let things dry and work at your own pace. Adios, amigos.